We are now streaming live over the internet. Thank you. Joe, I see you've joined us. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Testing.
I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kristen, I see you've joined us as well. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I can see you and I can hear you. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And Key Lee, I see you've joined us as well. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. I can see you and I can hear you. Thank you. And Jay, I see you as well. Would you like to do a microphone test? I can see you. And Molly O'Neill, I see you've joined us as well. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Nicholas, I see you're here as well. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I can see you and I can hear you. Thank you.
Great.
And Dr. Day, I see you're here as well. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Yes, good morning. Can you see me?
Yep, I can see you and I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you.
And Mark, I see you've joined us. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Test.
I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Kavita, I see you've joined us as well. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much. And Supervisor Wasserman, I believe you've joined us. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Absolutely, Colin.
Thank you very much. I can see you and I can hear you.
Wonderful.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, President Wasserman.
Good morning, Vice President and Chair Ellenberg and attorney.
If we're going there, you got to get them all, and teacher and mama,
Well, there you go.
all my favorite titles. It is 9:59. I will call the meeting to order at 10 o'clock promptly.
I think all I got left is CFP Emeritus. Well, dad and husband, like you said. All right.
All right, here we go. It is 10 a.m. on Thursday, March 10th, and I'm calling to order this meeting of the Public Safety and Justice Committee, and we will begin with a roll call, please.
Good morning, Vice Chairperson Wasserman.
Here.
And Chairperson Ellenberg.
I'm here as well.
Thank you.
That takes us to public comment, which is that portion of the agenda reserved for members of the public wishing to speak on any item not on today's agenda, but within the purview of this committee. Do we have any speakers today?
We do have one speaker currently lined up, Madam Chair.
All right. If anyone else wishes to speak on public comment, now is definitely the time to raise your hand. And let's do 3 minutes for our lone speaker. Thank you.
All right. One moment, please, while we get the timer up. Next speaker is Scott Largent. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Scott Largent, the lone speaker. I like that one. This morning, I was going through some old paperwork that I have just in regards to safe parking programs. We know that there are no current options right now. What I'm basically talking about is the Lord of the Flies down the street from your county building. I was on a advocate meeting. I participate in these. They're about twice a month. It would be better if they were multiple times a week. And it was discussed that they were going to be able to have one of these programs. They were going to be able to do it at a VTA parking lot. Like always, before any of these big major sweeps, the city, and there is a portion of the county to blame on this, that nothing is ever ready. Now, we had the Golden Shovel Day over at the new lot next to the police department. That's also not going to be ready for these people. Safe parking is not going to be ready for them. So I'm kind of watching this play out right now. Where are they really going to go? They can't go to the airport technically because they're just going to be going farther down the creek. They can't really go into the neighborhoods because those are so packed now on the other sides of the fields where they did the sweep. I'm just curious how this is going to play out. June 20th is the deadline. The city's supposed to go back to council to request more time. What are we going to do? I mean, truly, what are we going to do for the people that are just suffering in that field out there? Boxing them in, putting in K-rails, just making it so miserable and difficult for them is not going to work. And they will end up, like they already have been, at the county building. I guess, what's going to happen? Why are people not being put on the proper holds? Why are they not being properly helped? And I know our mental health and our behavioral health system, I'm not very impressed with it, but pulling somebody out of an environment for a 3-day hold, a 2-week hold, in my eyes, it's a system that's in place right now that could help pull somebody out of a situation very quick. So when the person is butt naked, smoking meth on heading out there, screaming, yelling, throwing poop, I mean, if we put them on a hold, they're no longer in the middle of traffic there. And then that elderly person driving down the road doesn't have to worry about running that person over. Kids don't need to see it. And that person seems to be getting some type of help, but they don't get put on these holds. So I'm just a little confused. These people need some serious help out there. So thank you.
That concludes our requests to speak.
Thank you very much. Item 3 is approval of the consent calendar. Currently, item 11 is on consent, and I'd like to recommend adding item 8, which is to receive report from the Behavioral Health Services Department relating to the My Avatar integration with county contracted providers. Supervisor Wasserman, are there any items that you wish to add or remove from the consent calendar?
No, none to remove, and I second your motion to approve 11 and 8.
Thank you very much. Do we have any comments on the consent calendar?
We have no requests to speak on this item, Madam Chair.
All right, let's take a vote.
Vice Chairperson Wasserman
Yes.
and Chairperson Ellenberg.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we are on item 4, which is to receive verbal reports from departments relating to the Public Safety and Justice Committee relating to the county response to COVID-19.
Good morning, Chairperson Ellenberg. I will be handling this item today. And first, we'll start off with the Superior Court.
Good morning, Casey.
Good morning. Let's see, do we have a representative today from the court? Perhaps they haven't been able to join on yet. I'm not seeing on our panelist list. Why don't we give them a minute or two? We can transition to the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you. We have today Sergeant Menchaca from the COVID Investigations Unit, who will be providing our update and will be available for any questions you may have. Sergeant.
Thank you, Sheriff, and good morning, Supervisors Wasserman and Ellenberg. The Sheriff's Office currently has 4 staff members in isolation with COVID and 0 in quarantine pending test results. Of the staff members in isolation, 2 are up to date or are not eligible for the booster, and 2 are eligible and pending their doctor's approval upon completion of isolation. Also, there are 31 COVID positive inmates in our care. This concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Supervisor Wasserman, any questions? No, thank you for the report.
No, ma'am.
Great. We can move on to Custody Health.
Okay, good morning, Supervisor Ellenberg and Wasserman. Just a brief report. As Sergeant Menchaca mentioned, we had 31 patients with COVID-19 positive. 23 of those are at Elmwood and 8 are at Main Jail. We're reducing our daily antigen testing because the case rates are going down in the county as well as in jails, and we'll be doing testing 2 to 3 times a week. We also have about a 90% compliance with our testing protocols, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Day.
Thank you.
No, ma'am.
Questions? All right. You're on mute, Casey. There you go.
Yes, thank you. Next, we'll move on to probation.
Hey, good morning. Everyone's well. Deputy Chief Burchard will give you an update on juvenile hall on the ranch.
Good morning, Chairperson Ellenberg, Vice Chairperson Wasserman. Just a report on our juvenile institutions. We currently have no staff who are COVID positive. We've had no youth who are COVID positive in quite some time. Knock on wood around here. So other than that, I have no updates to report unless you have questions.
That is a glorious report.
Yeah, thank you.
No questions.
Before we move on to pretrial services, I thought I would ask one more time if we have a representative from the Superior Court who might be available to give an update. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have a representative, so we will move on to pretrial services.
Thank you, and good morning to all. I'm grateful to report that 98% of the staff at both admin, booking, and pretrial are fully vaccinated. All services are up and functioning. Our drug testing is very limited, really only on demand at this time. We don't have the staffing, and it's challenging to have so many people circulating in the community if it's not necessary. So that's the one thing that we're really kind of holding back on right now. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Matt, I'm having trouble hearing you. Do you mind saying that again?
Sure. 98% of the staff at admin, booking, and pretrial are vaccinated. All services are functioning fully except for drug testing, which is very limited. And otherwise we're doing well. We really appreciate the support from the Sheriff's Department and DOC with the vaccination and all the testing and that we're able to accomplish.
Can you talk a little bit more? Also, it looks like you're in witness protection. I can hardly see your face. And explain just the impact of the drug testing, who's not being tested, what does that actually mean? And is there a solution coming along to address whatever the shortage is?
Sure. So programmatically, there are very few people in the Prop 36 drug testing program right now. The cases that we're seeing climb are the cases where people are pretrial supervision, and should they need to be tested, they can be tested by pretrial services. So we will test them. We are staffed for it. We have a place to do so, but we're doing it as needed. And most of the people that are ordered to do testing likely have an alcohol monitor on, so they're being tested that way. We're trying to facilitate as much of the work as we can remotely to not pull people away from their jobs and their homes and that sort of thing.
Right.
But we will test people if necessary, and that could be a request, or it could be something that we notice. We just want to reassure the community that that's how we're handling that, and we're really trying to focus our resources on the highest priorities.
Thank you. Appreciate the report. Are there any questions for Matt?
From the
No,
shadows.
I'm trying to keep him hidden in the program. I don't want to have him spend too much time on video.
I've been told that I have a radio face anyway, so
There you go.
All right.
Great. Well, that concludes our report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Casey, and thank you to all of the departments. And I'm sorry that the court wasn't able to be with us today. I know that the courts are considering ending the emergency rules on March 11th. Is that correct? Is that tomorrow? Which should really kind of put us on alert to paying attention, particularly to any potential rise in the jail population or substantial sentencing terms. And what I'd like to do, since this really is an inflection point, and at least Nick's report couldn't get any better, what I'd like to do beginning next month is discontinue the COVID reports, but really focus us instead on updates regarding the reduction of the court backlog and further reducing and maintaining a lower in custody number. So I will work with probably Casey to get some detail about how we will flesh that out. But for those departments who have been continuing to provide the COVID reports, thank you very much. I'm not going to ask for those regularly going forward, unless, she says, unless there is some dramatic change in our environment. We don't need a motion for that. Do we have any speakers on item 4?
We do have one speaker lined up. How long would you like to give this speaker, Madam Chair?
2 minutes, please, Dave.
All right, one moment, please. The next speaker is Tina Brown. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good morning. This is Tina Brown. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
I am a system impacted family member with a son inside the main jail north, and I am calling in to bring attention to the COVID quarantine protocols at main jail north for placement on the 5th floor, which is subjecting individuals to inhumane, hazardous conditions. The cells and the unit's common areas, to include showers, are in need of deep cleaning as they have built up blood, vomit, feces, urine, food, and other unidentifiable matter smeared everywhere. No one inside should endure this type of treatment. This is wrong, inhumane, and is cruel and unusual punishment. This has also been documented by his filed grievance number 167530172. The COVID-19 quarantine protocols in place are counterproductive as it subjects people to other deadly diseases and illness due to jail administration's lack of cleaning. The protocols are not efficient if custody staff are mixing quarantined individuals with main populations during court transfers. Considering the documented history of mistreatment that has happened to those inside under the care of jail administration, there has been no change, only the continuum of deliberate harm that affects a person's health and well-being that have long-lasting effects. Thank you for your time.
That concludes our request to speak.
Thank you. Thank you for raising that, Tina. Moving to item 5, which is a report from the chair relating to the Alternatives to Incarceration report and proposed work plan, which I am delighted to present today, just as soon as I pull up my notes. So the update for today is a quick just reminder of the structure. We are building 3 work groups, bringing together stakeholders involved in 3 critical intercept points into the current justice system: intervention at the start, the criminal legal process, and re-entry. We've determined that each of those 3 work groups will meet once a month, starting next month, that's April, and concluding in March of 2022, when the expectation is that those groups, through the facilitator, will present a report of recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. Meeting times are still being determined as we process the availability of work group members. The project management for this process will be guided by our consultant, Tres Lunas Consulting. And for those of you who haven't yet taken a moment to learn about Diana Zuniga, I just want to share the confidence that we have in this consultant to facilitate a very productive and inclusive process based on her background in Los Angeles County, where, of course, their jail system is even larger and more complex than ours. The facilitator also plans to engage several locally based facilitators and note takers to ensure that change is coming from within the community and to ensure that this unique process is centered in our community, where we can produce tailored implementable solutions that work here. So the intention here is this combination of an outside project manager with facilitators from within the community, so that we can really balance kind of an impartial, high-level lens with community-based knowledge and expertise. We are right now waiting for the county exec's office to finish negotiating the scope of work with our consultant. The consultant is standing by, ready to begin planning the meeting structure, and we should be able to report more details at the next PSJC meeting. What we can share, as promised, is I'm going to share just a quick summary of the members. Very pleased with the broad interest in the diverse perspective of stakeholders that we are bringing together. Each of the 3 work groups will include 4 community members who have been either system involved, supported a loved one who is system involved, or is a victim or survivor of harm. Will include the county's public safety and justice, behavioral health departments, staff from local community-based support services for mental health, supportive housing, employment, victim advocacy, and substance use rehab, who work with justice-involved clients before, during, and after incarceration. And finally, with some academic voices from San Jose State and Santa Clara University with expertise in the criminal legal system. I want to extend an early thank you to the individuals, organizations, and agencies who have generously and enthusiastically volunteered their time to take part in this momentous project. We submitted to the record just this morning a list and process of the groups. We had hoped to have it finalized this morning. It is close. But I'm wondering, Casey, if you're able, or Dr. Smith, to give us any update on the status of negotiations, hoping that that contract can get signed so that we can finalize the groups and move into scheduling.
If I may, Supervisor, I can.
Hi, Martha. Yes,
hi.
absolutely.
So we are doing going the normal back and forth on the scope of work with Tres Lunas. We will have this contract in time, well before any work starts. And so we are having good conversations, good back and forth on the scope of work to reflect what the board approved in terms of the community engagement plan.
Sure, we're ready to start the work now. So I realize that she comes on for the first meeting in April, but ideally, in order for her to have preliminary contacts with our prospective members and help us with scheduling, I think they just want to know that that this is final, that we are on, that we are doing the work. Do you think it will take more than another few days?
Yes, I do think it'll take more than another few days.
Okay.
I'm happy to rush this. We are working quite urgently on it, but there are various levels of approval to go through the county's processes. And so I don't want to make any promises we can't keep, but we are working urgently on this.
All right, thank you. I'd like you to provide to my office next week, by mid next week, an update as to what the timeframe looks like then, and if there are any issues that we might be able to help move along.
We can do that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Supervisor Wasserman, any comments or questions?
No, thank you for the update. I just wanted one point of clarification. In your opening few sentences, I thought you said reporting back March of 22. And I
2023.
If I heard correctly, I think, yeah, 2023. Thank you.
2023, yes. Thank you.
And we have Judge Zehner.
Judge McGowan. Named Judge Zehner, but definitely not Judge Zehner. Good morning, Judge McGowan.
You're right. Forgive me, Judge. I just looked at the words and not the face.
No problem. Thank you so much. I apologize for the lateness. The link was only sent to Judge Zehner, and I am not Judge Zehner, so I had to wait for him to send it to me, which has now occurred. I believe I'm tardy to the discussion, and I don't mean to interrupt. Have you already called for the court's update?
We did, but we're very interested in hearing from you. So let me just finish this item on the ATI report, and then we will absolutely come to you for a report. Thank you so much, Judge McGowan. Do any other committee members have questions or comments about the ATI update? Do we have any members of the public?
We have 2 speakers currently, Madam Chair.
All right, let's do 2 minutes for each speaker, please.
Certainly. First speaker is Jose Valle. I'm unmuting you. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead. Jose, are you there? I'll ask you to unmute one more time. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? This is Jose with Silicon Valley Debug. Let's see here. I'm sorry about this. Okay, I'm in support of the sign-on letter to Santa Clara County Justice agencies to reduce jail population standards called for by the public health officials before alternatives to incarceration work group begins. After hours of public comment on the day of the board meeting to vote on whether or not the county should build a new jail, the board ignored the community and voted to build a 500+ maximum security jail proposed by the county executive's office. Building a new jail facility is contrary to the county's priorities of reducing the jail population and creating the ATI. In order to show something tangible that will allow the community to come to the ATI with some measure of trust, county justice partners must see their authority to reduce the jail population now. Thank you.
The next speaker is Karen Matsuda. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, this is Karen Matsuda, and as part of the Showing Up for Racial Justice and the Care First Coalition, I first want to thank the supervisors for unanimously voting to proceed with a plan to explore and propose alternatives to incarceration. I was and remain deeply disappointed, though, that in spite of a loud and clear community consensus, including extensive data collected by the county against building a new jail, that 3 of the 5 supervisors voted to build one. You can count me in the numbers that feel our good faith involvement in the community and board processes were outright dismissed. Imagine how cynical many of us are now that the pending year-long ATI process, that it will be taken any more seriously than our previous involvement, especially with a mind-boggling scheme to continue to also invest in incarceration. So I urge you to show some good faith and regard and regain our trust. We want to keep working with you. Invest in the health of the community inside and outside the jails, drastically reducing the jail population now to the levels recommended by public health officials. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tina Brown. You have 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Tina Brown. I'm a system impacted family member with Silicon Valley Debug and Care First Jail Last Coalition. I'm calling in for item number 5 and to support the letter submitted by Silicon Valley Debug that calls for the county partners to reduce the jail population to standards called for by public health officials before the Alternatives to Incarceration work group begins. The reduction of population that occurred since the beginning of COVID only proves that it can be accomplished without the need for an ATI work plan start date. But it is also evident since the call from public health that those efforts have subsided as there is an increase in population, even though crime rate is low. My public comment earlier about the inhumane conditions experienced by my loved one inside speaks for itself, in that continuing to depopulate is very important and should be a priority now, so that individuals can be deterred from suffering harm, disease, and trauma inside the county jails.
Next speaker is Abraham Perdomo. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Abraham Perdomo. I'm a member of the District 2. And so I just kind of want to say that also I'm also in support with sign-on letter to the Santa Clara County Justice Agencies to reduce jail population to the standards called for by the public health officials before alternatives incarceration work begins. Just like previous people have stated, kind of disappointed in the trajectory that it's taken. A year-long work, engagements with the community kind of didn't come through. And so we kind of need y'all to work with us so you can regain our trust, quite frankly. Yeah.
The next speaker is RNPA Nurses Union. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Angela King, and I work inside the main jail as a registered nurse. I just want to mention that I am so deeply disappointed in the 3 members of the board that voted for the new jail. I think that it doesn't. It's not hard to realize that if we fix and assist the people on the outside with their mental health and their addiction problems with facilities and the number of facilities that are available, the number of beds that are available, then you will not need a new jail, because you will have helped those people that are round robining in and out of the jail system due to their mental health and their addiction problems. And so I guess since you voted in the new jail, I would hope that you would explore a new and innovative type of jail where inmates are put into a progressive rehabilitation to help them. If they're homeless and you pop them right back out the front door, they're going to relapse and they're not going to get their meds. Oh, you can go pick up your meds over on Enborg. Really? They have no transportation, nothing. And quite frankly, if I was homeless, I would probably be wanting to drown out my misery also. So I just would hope that everybody turns their attention to reducing our recidivism on people who have mental health and addiction.
The next speaker is Cynthia Longs. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead. Cynthia, are you there? Cynthia is not responding. We'll go to the next speaker. Next speaker is Melissa V. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead. Melissa, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I am a Kentucky family member, and I am also a Debug member. I am in support of the sign-on letter to Santa Clara County Justice Agency to reduce jail population standards called for by public health officials before alternatives to incarceration work group begins. After hours of public comment on the day of the board meeting to vote on whether or not counties should build a new jail, the board ignored community and voted to build the 500+ maximum security jail proposed by the county executive's office. Building a new jail facility is contrary to the county's priorities of reducing the jail population and creating the ATI. In order to show something tangible that will allow the community to come to the ATI with a measure of trust county justice partners must use their authority to reduce the jail population now. And I'm just wanting to comment off of Tina. I know also as well, like when she's on the phone with her son, she mentioned that she hears screaming in the background, and that's something that her son like hears all day, just yelling and screaming, probably because there's mental health people there or a mix of people there, and that's kind of like that would drive somebody crazy if you're just trying to, you have to be there and having me hear screaming all day long. Like that will make you go crazy. Like you should just put yourself in that situation, and yeah, something should be done and looked at because it seems like nothing. And a new jail will not fix that. If that jail's dirty, the new jail's going to be dirty too. And thank you.
Next speaker is Leslie Ziegler. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. This is Leslie Ziegler. I'm with the Surge at Sacred Heart and the Care First Coalition. And I want to point out that the letter that other public commenters have talked about was signed by 40 organizations and more than 170 people. And that letter calls for a reduction in the jail population to levels that our county's own public health department called for before the start of the ATI work groups. So I just wanted to be very clear what people are asking for is a reduction in the jail population to below 2,000 people, where it's climbed up to above 2,600 people, which is unsafe for public health reasons. And it would be a show of good faith when, as another speaker said, the community is feeling really cynical about and a lack of trust in the board's ability to actually listen to the community. Thank you.
And that concludes our request to speak.
Thank you very much. We'll go back to Judge McGowan right now for a report under item 4.
And this is the COVID update, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to start with the good news because we've had so little of it. There are no significant COVID backlogs in the family division, in the juvenile division, including juvenile dependency and juvenile justice. Those courts may not be running as quickly as we'd like, but there is not a significant or frankly any backlog due to COVID in any of them. Not surprisingly, the bad news is that we still maintain a significant backlog in criminal cases, primarily misdemeanor cases, more than half of which are domestic violence cases. Those misdemeanor cases are still awaiting trial and the number still exceeds 600. We are also currently struggling with our staffing in our collaborative courts. We have a limitation on how many criminal courts we can run at a time. The collaborative courts do have crossover clients in our mental health courts and in our family courts. However, they still are counted as a criminal court and we're having difficulty providing funding for staffing there. That's our current work so that we can keep our collaborative courts open and running, which I think is a relevant part of this conversation. The civil division also continues to experience significant backlogs due to COVID. However, the civil division, unlike criminal, is able to simply reset onto trial setting conferences, those trials which are not able to go out. And of course, we don't have the same constitutional problems with respect to last days in the civil division. So currently our focus is on paring down our criminal case backlog, and we have 12 trial departments currently devoted to running those criminal trials, and we are obtaining assistance from assigned judges to make sure that all 12 departments continue running on a full-time basis. The only other piece of good news I can think of is that our collaboration with the county on the pretrial services courtroom seems to be going very well. But I confess I missed the report out from my justice partners. So I don't know if I feel alone in that regard, but we do think the pretrial services courtroom is running very well right now and is certainly very busy and highly staffed. And I would defer to those who spoke before me if I'm incorrect about that. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judge McGowan. Appreciate the report and your focus. And in fact, it goes to a comment that I made during that item in which I announced that we're going to discontinue these COVID reports for future meetings, but instead focus on reports that provide updates on reduction of the criminal division court backlog, and reduction of the jail population. I've seen the letter that the community has referenced. I think
we lost you.
No, you didn't lose me. I stopped to think for a moment. We are going to begin the groups in April. I'm a little bit concerned about tying them together. I absolutely hear and understand the lack of trust and the tentative at best nature of the relationships right now. But I believe that moving ahead with on both fronts, continuing not only to encourage the backlog reduction and reduction of the jail population, but to really get to work at providing those alternatives so that there are more tangible ways to actually implement and affect those reductions and an end to the backlog. So look forward to further partnering with all of the justice partners, particularly the court, the district attorney's office, and more to come. Thank you so much, Judge McGowan.
Sure, if I may.
Please.
Thank you. Judge Beth McGowan. I want to thank you and your peers for the effort you're putting in to catch up on the cases. You know, I know that you and your mates are doing all that you can to get rid of that backlog. I just have to put on the record how disappointed I am with the state in not passing out emergency funding, personnel, whatever it is that the court system needs to get caught up. Even if they take back the relief they send now when you're caught up, and you know COVID's pretty much behind us. I just that frustrates me so much, and I can see in your face how much you care about the status of the court systems now and how personally you take it. And I appreciate your passion. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. I will pass them on, but frankly, the heavy lifting is the other people on this call, the independent counsel's office, the public defender, the district attorney. They're the ones getting all of these cases ready, and we're just doing our very best to have courtrooms and judges able to hear them. And as we relax some of the COVID rules, it will certainly be easier to get the public to serve as jurors, which has been a continuing problem for us.
Definitely.
We hope to have more good news next month.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Judge McGowan, thank you for your report. I just wanted to clarify the numbers that you're providing. The over 600 figure that you mentioned, does that include both the felony and misdemeanor cases that are time sensitive, that are time not waived cases? Okay. And so for future meetings, does the court have the way of tallying those numbers? Because I think none of us really are keeping track of the exact figures. And does the court plan to provide those numbers at the next meeting in terms of like to capture so that we know sort of where we are and where we stand and we have some sort of measurable baseline to begin the work?
Yes, that's the short answer. The long answer is the court is putting in place our own data keeping dashboards, and we expect the criminal dashboards to be operational in June. It may be only as a pilot, but we have been provided statistics from lots of different entities, and we have found that really none of them are accurate. And frankly, our own weren't accurate. When the criminal division changed presiding judges this year, the last presiding judge kept the numbers differently than the current presiding judge. And what we have shifted to this year is an over-inclusive counting. So for example, if one person has 5 cases, it will count as 5 cases, not 1. Right. And that explains why we've had a significant increase in our statistics from June of last year to today's date. The 600 number that I've given is a total of time not waived cases. It does not include time waived cases, but it does include both misdemeanors and felonies. And then going forward, when our dashboards are in place, our Odyssey entries will allow us to keep our data electronically without the human error that or the changing in leadership that has changed our numbers in this past year.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And that'll be very helpful.
All right. And we've got some computer problems going on with our chair. She'll get back in just a moment. Wally, I saw you come on. Did you wish to speak at this time? If
no, thank you.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our item number 6. And our chair, these are all received reports, so there's no action necessary, so no vote needing to be taken. Move on to item 6, receive report from the Office of Sheriff relating to quarterly inmate grievances.
Thank you, Supervisor Wasserman. We have present today Lieutenant Joe Nguyen and Captain Michelle Asban, and they're prepared to respond to any questions you may have on the report.
Thank you. First, I will turn to our public speakers. I see we've got a couple on there. Could you please start those, 2 minutes each?
Certainly. One moment, please.
Thanks, David.
Next speaker is Cynthia Longs. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Longs, and I feel slighted or concerned because I was ignored earlier. I am a system impacted family member. I'm disabled. I have a degree from Santa Clara University, and I think you went too fast. I am a local voter and I live in District 1. I'm very appalled about the way I was treated on the system. We need more time. There are lots of people on this call who need the time they need. Anyway, I am adding my comments in because I support the sign-on letter to the Santa Clara Justice Agencies. It is important to reduce the jail population to the standards called by the public health officials before the Alternatives to Incarceration work group begins. After hours of public comments by the community, those impacted and those not impacted, to not build a new jail, the board ignored the community and they voted to build a maximum security 500+ jail proposed by the county exec. Building a new jail is contrary to the county's priorities of reducing the population and creating the alternatives to incarceration. I have a son in the main jail. I've dealt with this system a long time. I felt like my face was slapped when all the comments were made, and it seems as though the Board of Supervisors are not trying to listen to the community, nor are they feel that they will be affected or have loved ones inside. They have to think about the future of their own loved ones. I have talked to my son and I visit weekly when I can, and the jail is filthy. They are treated inhumane. I didn't hear all of Tina's comments, but I am in agreement with them because she and I discussed them, the filth and the inhumane conditions that our sons have to endure. My son has allergies and asthma, and he got sick a couple of weeks ago, but he...
Next speaker is Catherine Hedges. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I live in District 3 and I'm a member of SURD speaking out for racial justice. And I want to echo everything the last speaker said. On January 25th, the Board of Supervisors voted to build a new maximum security jail and create the ATI work group. Despite the community engagement process, it called for the board to commit to the alternatives to incarceration before even considering a carceral facility. And Santa Clara County's community stakeholders being asked to trust in this new ATI process. And to do that, we have to set aside two significant realities, actually three, namely that the county is already committed to building a new jail. Secondly, that this new jail was explicitly rejected by the community. And third, that the jail conditions are inhumane. In order to show something tangible that will allow community to come to the ATI with some measure of trust, county justice partners must use their authority to reduce the jail population now and improve the living conditions. And so they'll meet the county's health requirements to protect the lives of the incarcerated and show the community that they are willing and capable partners to build an alternatives to incarceration work group with meaning and purpose. I mean, I'm not system impacted, but you've heard from other people who are, and you know, you can't just disregard the words of the people you claim to represent. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is RNPA Nurses Union. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Hi, I specifically wanted to come on because Judge Gowan and other court system people are on right now. We went to Custody Health Services to discuss the delay in the 2603A patients who are needing forced medications due to the fact that they have decompensated mentally. They have severe mental health issues, and there's been significant delays. And when we talked to them, they said that their court dates keep getting stalled. And so all we are asking is if the courts and Custody Health Services and the sheriff's department and mental health department can all work together to not cancel these or put on hold these court appearances, but actually bring the television to the cell if they're unable to go to court, so that these judges can actually see how decompensated these patients are and can give Custody Health Services the go-ahead to give them the meds to get them back on track. The longer they wait, the more difficult it is to turn around that decompensation. If we can catch it quicker, we can get them back on track much quicker. And we're not talking about like narcotics or anything like put them to sleep because they're whatever. These are long acting medications for patients who.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Jose Valle. You have 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Jose Valle, Silicon Valley Debug. In regards to the grievances, if we want to really take these grievances seriously, then we have to reduce the jail population. If we really want to make a change, then it's not going to be done by building a new jail. We're going to have to change the culture of not only how law enforcement handles folks that are inside, but this has to be an entire collaboration with all parties involved. That's district attorneys, law enforcement, judges, the board of supervisors, the county exec. We're going to have to all do this together if we're going to want to go ahead and improve these many grievances that are going on inside the jails. Thank you.
And that concludes our request to speak.
Thank you very much. And we have our chair. We have our chair right there.
Yes.
Thank you. And we have the Sheriff's Department standing by for any questions you might have. Chair, I do not have any.
Thank you so much. And really my apologies to everyone left in the middle of item 5 and could not stop that restart from happening. Anyway, I'm very sorry. Did we hear the sheriff's grievance report? So we're going right to questions.
The report was, they said as in the binder, and they're available for any questions. Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And sorry for being behind. I do have just a couple of questions. I'm curious to know what kind of commissary items are not in stock. Just want to have an understanding of whether these are core necessities, and if they are clearly very important to people in custody, are we able to order from another vendor that might have items in stock?
Good morning, Supervisor. Lieutenant Nguyen taking that question. We work directly with our vendor on a monthly basis to check in on the status of their items. As we see, grievances have been spiking the last few months in regards to supply chain issues. They are advising that they are popular items on the menu. So anything that is not currently available that are used to be on the menu, they have found substitutes for them, but they're just not the the right flavor, the right usual items or chips or care products that the inmates are used to. But substitutes have been made and are available. It's just they're not the regular items that they're used to. But they are, it's a variety of food items, care products. But they assured us that all items that are not available, substitutes have been made.
And do we have an estimate on when the preferred items will be available again?
Not at this time. Our vendor is reporting that it's ongoing. It's nationwide, and every single day that they are out of an item, they are reaching out to another vendor to try to substitute as fast as they can for the inmates.
So our looking for another vendor wouldn't necessarily solve this challenge?
From what we're getting, it's nationwide, Supervisor.
Thanks, Lieutenant. I appreciate that context. Just a couple of questions as well about the slides that were in the packet. How long does it take, this was noted, the appeals on slide 4, how long does it take to process a response to an appeal? Does it follow that same 30-day, the 30-day standard?
Yes, ma'am. Our timeliness goal for regular grievances are 30 days, and for appeals, same process, 30 days as well.
And is that, it looks like there are large proportions of open appeals for staff conduct and for medical services.
With staff conduct, we do require that a full investigation is looked into. So the facility captain and the business unit managers will have to look at from beginning to end. And if there's any follow-up at all that needs to be done at the facility level, at division level, it can take a little bit of time to investigate to ensure that the investigation is fully looked into for the inmate.
So when you say a little bit of time, is there some kind of outlying deadline?
Well, 30 days are our goal for grievances and appeals. So with everything being packaged together ready for the facility captains or business unit managers to look into, we are still holding the timeliness objective of 30 days for appeals as well. Okay, thank you so much. I noted on slide 8 that the grievances per capita for the women are remarkably higher than at the other 22 jails, 126% in November for the women versus 33 and 32% for the men. And the graphs on slides 9 to 12, as far as I can tell, don't consider that the population at the men's jail is so much larger than at Maine and women's, really making the women's grievance or making their grievances, seem extreme. And I'm not sure why we're not using the same per capita measure in slides 9 to 12 that we used in 6 to 8. It makes it a little bit hard to compare. Point. We will look into that.
Thanks. Am I getting a nod from Supervisor Wasserman? Did you find that too?
Yeah, that's how percentages are misleading. I agree with exactly what you just said.
Thank you. And we have talked about the fact that in the medical grievances, we've known that that we're getting a much higher percentage from women. And now it looks like it's beyond the medical grievances, but in all areas. And I really think that it's worthwhile and important to dig in to maybe in a conversation or a survey to try to understand are the women categorically being treated in a different way? Are their grievances responded to in a different way? The difference is so stark that I would like to have more answers and information as to what's happening on the women's side that leads to such higher levels. What do you think is a Supervisor Wasserman?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that I understood you correctly and was agreeing with what I felt that you said. The sample size for the women is so much smaller than for the men. It's like if you have 2 at bats and you go 1 for 2, you're hitting 500. And with a smaller sampling size, the percentages that we're seeing are misleading. I don't know what that background.
We're getting a lot of background noise.
Noise is,
Might
but
be from
whoever
the
has
clerk.
their speaker on needlessly, thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I thought the point was you were raising as far as the results we were being shown. And that's what I was echoing. Is that correct?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
So coming back to Lieutenant Nguyen, do you have thoughts now, or can you, if not now, coming back next month with some more innovative or new ideas about how we can really understand why the percentage of women, and I understand the numbers, that are submitting grievances is so much higher than the percentage of men who submit grievances?
Yes, Supervisor. I mean, just looking at the data that we have, it's a higher percentage for the female population, but we did a quick audit for this ledge file, and we did notice that there were only 87 female inmates that submitted the entire bulk of the grievances for the quarter. And of the 87, 10 inmates in particular submitted at least 50% of those grievances. So, I mean, it's a combination of streamline the grievance process through with the GTAL tablets. The likelihood of submissions are higher now with the ease and anonymity of the GTAL tablets. So inmates are more inclined to submit as they, freely please at their leisure. So without doing a deep dive and doing an audit into each and every single grievances, that's what the data is showing for us right now, that 10 inmates are responsible for 50% of those submissions for the quarter.
Interesting. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. I'm not going to ask for anything additional right now, but I will give that some more thought as well. Thanks so much. And I understand we did public comment in my absence. Thank you very much. We don't need a roll call vote. So we'll move to item 7, which is to receive a report from the Office of the District Attorney and the Santa Clara County Opioid Overdose Prevention Project relating to actions to address the fentanyl epidemic. Who do we have?
Good morning, Supervisor Ellenberg and Wasserman and committee members. I'm Myra Perway's Division Director in Addiction Medicine in Santa Clara County Beaver Health Department. I also lead the Opioid Overdose Prevention Coalition in Santa Clara County, known as SCOOP. And today, Edward Leong, our supervisor from DEA office, is also part of this. So we have presented the joint report, and we have a presentation. If time allows, we can go through that. Is that?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Edward Liang. I'm the supervisor of the Major Crime and Drug Trafficking team at the District Attorney's Office. And as Myra said, we have a presentation for you, and I'm going to share my screen right now, and I'm going to let Myra get started.
Okay. So this is just to give you specifically information about what is happening in our county related to fentanyl and the fentanyl overdose, and what we have done so far about it and what we're hoping to achieve. So in Santa Clara County, some of this data is from 2020 because there's always somewhat of lag to compile all the information related to overdoses from 21. They're still getting sorted out, but we'll go what we have for 20, and I will share what I have so far for 21. So in 2020, we had 142 people died of opioid overdose, but 86 of them were directly killed by fentanyl. And the next, and this year in 21, 124 people died from opiate overdose involving fentanyl, and at least 34 of them were under age of 25. Fentanyl overdoses have increased 200% in this county, and fentanyl was responsible for over 92% of fatal opiate overdoses among ages 12 to 24 years old. And I'm sad to say that we did have last year in this county, our youngest person that died was 12 years old due to opiate overdose. This just to give you an idea of how fentanyl has grown over the last 3 years. As you can see, in 2018, the blue bar represent that as very, very low. In 2019, it goes up a little bit higher. 2020, you're seeing a really big jump in ages of 15 to 24. And then another sub goes up in ages 25 to 29, and then another one from 35 to 39. So really hitting our young generation in a fast rate. To that expanded, that what we're seeing as overdoses, as you know, is actually an epidemic. In US, we are right now in the midst of this epidemic, but in Santa Clara County, we're no exception to that. So what were we doing about it? We are working as a coalition in the county. We have Santa Clara County Opiate Overdose Prevention Project. That's what SCOOP stands for. It's a coalition that's a county-run coalition focused on eliminating opiate overdoses, opiate misuse in Santa Clara County. That's our goal. And the organization consists of parents, physicians, law enforcement officials, public health employees, public health plans, members of committees. So it's really bringing the different parts of the county together. So that's the only focus as to how we can eliminate overdoses and opiate misuse in Santa Clara County. So over the past 5 years, we have done a number of things, such as we have done youth campaign and about overdose in schools, parent outreach, partnership with universities, expanding MAT services, that's medication assisted treatment program, to open up treatment inside the hospital, emergency rooms, jails. We have educated law enforcement and provide education to physicians, outreach to racial and ethnic minorities, and outreach to community centers. Those are just a few things we have done. And we are targeting outreach efforts to really stay up to trend on what we're seeing on the data, and identifying hotspots and high risk and determining action based on that. So for example, our current efforts have been in the south of the county. Gilroy and Morgan Hill was hit hard last year with the teenagers and young adults losing their lives to opiate overdose. So we have done a number of things in that, or we're looking at how it's affecting African Americans and Hispanic communities that are seeing a high rate in overdose as well. In terms of what the trend showing that is really hitting that ages of 15 to 29, which is really high school and college age groups, we are trying to come up with ways to reach them about providing them with information about staying safe and treatment resources. So whatever we can to get this information out to them, we did. For example, right now we're doing a social media campaign, such as fentanyl takes friends away, don't use all alone, and fentanyl can kill just one small amount can kill you. So all of those things are going out through social media platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, A number of these Snapchat, they're all getting we're running these campaigns through them. We have also created partnership with high schools, universities. We have engaging schools to do custom videos, materials through their leadership, their student leadership body, educating students in dangers of misusing prescription opiates, counterfeit pills, and fentanyl. And we also have developed an alliance for Moms Alliance, which is all parents who have lost a parent due to overdose, and that they meet on regular basis with us and voices their concerns and see what they can do in the community along with us. Next, please. As I just mentioned, this has been one of our social media campaign, Expect Fentanyl, because now anything that you can buy in the streets, you should expect fentanyl. So that's the message that we are getting that out. That's also what our district attorney's office have put up information about this. I've sent out letters to the schools, and which I think Ed is going to get more review that later in his presentation. But this is one of the things that we are doing. Next. And as I mentioned earlier, we're trying to monitor the data, what's happening in the county, doing outreach and targeted efforts and by zip codes. So our highest zip codes showed in the last year, so it was in Gilroy, San Martin, and Morgan Hill. So we did a number of special outreach to that particular side of the county. We had the DEA involvement, the parent group. We held our International Awareness Day in Gilroy. We had the city officials involved. We've been doing a number of Narcan training presentations for youth group, and Youth Alliance has done a number of town hall meetings in Gilroy and Morgan Hill, which again, Ed has also been part of those as well. And then we also have done outreach to parents and parents in general who are in this age group. So working with PTAs and also people who have already lost a child. We have showcase artwork and literature created by parents. We have connected parents with Scoop and organized regular meetings for them to voice their concern and opinions. We have organized opportunities for parents to share their stories and loss with the city in town hall, at the town hall meetings, youth groups, and community overall. So they know what they suffered and how they want to reach out to parents. It will have much direct effect. It comes coming out from their side. And then we also have working in schools, working with Office of Education to set a supplemental material to improve opiate education middle and high schools. And we are trying to provide Narcan and Narcan training to schools and to the school nursing offices that they should have this on site and with them. And we're also trying to come up with as part of their policy to have such as they have a policy for people who have allergies or EpiPen. This also should be a policy about this. So we're trying to work on that. And then obviously presenting to youth and parents about opiate misuse, fake pills, and fentanyl overall. And this is just some of our activities that we take place in the county, such as Jubilee Wellness, International Overdose Day, National Prescription Take Back Day, and we do distribution wherever we can get our foot in, such as food pantries, shelters, clinics, even farmers markets, and any of those areas that we can reach out to community. In terms of treatment, I'm very proud of this, that we've been able to achieve or open access to treatment in a number of ways for our county. In the hospitals, if anybody goes in the inpatient side, now they can get started in medication assisted treatment program and get directly out to outpatient services without any delay. We started our first youth opioid clinic in this county last year because we had none. And it started because we had one mom that showed up in our clinic and said, my son is going to die tomorrow if you don't help him. And because he was using heroin and he was only 15 years old. And my hands were at that time was tied what to do. But nonetheless, we were able to get our pediatric unit involved, our primary care involved, our youth psychiatrist involved, our addiction medicine clinics involved, and our youth behavioral health counseling team involved. So collectively, we have made this a specific now clinic for youth opioid use disorder that the youths could use at any time. They can get direct actually admission through emergency room or come to the pediatric unit or come to clinic. So all doors are open to them. And then emergency rooms. We have emergency and all our emergency rooms in Valley Medical Center and O'Connor, San Luis. They all now provide medication assisted treatment programs. So there's no delay. Anybody could come in, get started, and get their care the next day in one of our clinics. And the same token, jails. Before 2019, we had no MAT services. Now we have full range of MAT services inside the jails. They get started or they come in, they are kept there, and then upon release, they get connected to outpatient services. And then professional education. So we have done a number of, I want to say over 3,000 kids were distributed to our law enforcement agencies, and we have trained a number of law enforcement agencies throughout the county on Narcan and on how to administer Narcan and provide them with a kit. So pretty much all of our law enforcement in this county should have Narcan on their site. And they've been, as a matter of fact, a number of them have used it already and have saved a life. And then we're doing a lot of physician education and outreach to the physicians about how to administer Suboxone and get them Suboxone certified. That was still a year ago. Now the law has changed, so now they can do it without certification, but that was one of our efforts as well. And then outreach, we're also doing to our racial ethnic minorities. As I mentioned, we have seen increase in Hispanic and African American population. So we're trying to do outreach wherever we can to send this message to them through their agencies and work with them closely, such as AGM Adult Family Services, NACP Silicon Valley, Black Leadership Kitchen Cabinet, Root Community Health Center, San Jose Hispanic Caucus, Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley. So those are some of the areas that we try to work and bring outreach and actually even Narcan on their hands through their efforts and partnership with us. And just in case if you wanted to know, in Santa Clara County, we use this Narcan, the nasal spray, and that's what we distribute to the community. And the Narcan is available to in all our behavioral health addiction medicine clinics. Anybody can come any day during Monday through Friday and request for this, and we give them for free along with the education. Next, Ed.
Thank you, Mara. Again, my name is Edward Liang, and I'm the supervisor of the major crime and drug trafficking team at the district attorney's office. And Myra has been a great partner in the work that we're doing with respect to addressing the fentanyl crisis in our county. And I will say with respect to my office, I think one of the main initiatives that District Attorney Rosen has done is the creation of my team, which is one of the focuses is on addressing fentanyl. And as we can see here, in terms of fentanyl-related prosecutions, it spiked last year, and it really goes hand in hand with the increased availability of fentanyl, as well as the fentanyl deaths that we've seen here. And we're ultimately prioritizing these kinds of cases. You know, last year we had 123 filings, 72 of which were felonies, and the most common charges, of course, possession for sales of fentanyl. In fact, recently we had a seizure of over 1,000 pills in one instance. So unfortunately, the pills are still out there, and the pills are still readily accessible. And of course, amongst those prosecutions as well include prosecutions for homicides related to drug dealers who sell fentanyl that cause somebody to die. So amongst the things that the district attorney's office is doing includes public outreach, as Myra sort of described here. And we have participated in work with SCOOP, with the fentanyl task force, with the work on the child death review team, and especially with the work that the medical examiner coroner's office has done with the various campaigns that they've done. This is an example of a community safety alert that we've provided to the Gilroy Unified School District, and where we're providing parents and students really more information about fentanyl and how easily accessible it is, and really about the dangers of fentanyl as well. As Myra alluded to, we've participated in a town hall for Morgan Hill, and next week we'll be participating in one for Gilroy, particularly more specifically the Gilroy Unified School District. It's an important topic for that part of the county. It's an important topic for every part of this county here. Another potential initiative that the district attorney's office may use is fentanyl advisement. It's an advisement that other counties have done. It really talks about the dangers of fentanyl and that it's for its potential use for future prosecutions. But ultimately, the point of this advisement isn't really as a law enforcement tool for prosecutions. It's really a direct public outreach, a direct educational tool for the people that are both using and selling fentanyl specifically, to tell them about the dangers about it and what could potentially happen if they sell fentanyl to somebody. So that's the way we ultimately look at it. That's really an educational tool as opposed to a tool for law enforcement, which it could potentially be. The other initiatives that we have is really having a coordinated county approach with respect to how we address the fentanyl poisoning deaths in our county. And I use the term fentanyl poisoning only because it really captures sort of what the fentanyl is, and especially with the potential death that can come when somebody uses it unknowingly, especially. And we're talking about having a uniform protocol for how to address these deaths, recognizing that it's a fentanyl poisoning death and working in conjunction with the medical examiner coroner's office with respect to that, and having a uniform response by the various law enforcement agencies, making sure that these victims really are getting the attention that they all deserve, and making sure that their death is properly and thoroughly investigated to see where that case could lead. Another way is, as other counties have, is a task force or response team with respect to fentanyl poisoning deaths. And in our county, we have the Santa Clara County Specialized Enforcement Team. And that is a potential avenue for us to have a coordinated county approach, is having a task force or response team to roll out to these deaths and make sure that, again, that they're properly investigated for the potential homicides that they could be. So ultimately, these are the initiatives that we're hoping to do, and hoping to address this obviously very serious problem, as we've seen with the incredible rise in the number of deaths just in these past few years. And thank you all for receiving this report from us.
Thank you, Edward and Myra, for the report. I do have some questions, but I'll look first to my colleague, Supervisor Wasserman. Do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you. I do, and I thank both presenters for that presentation. It was very educational to me. I'm staggered to see the increase year over year that has taken place in our county. I know the word epidemic is used too much, but the percentage increase, we're back to percentages here, Chair, the percentage increase is huge. And if that's any part of a trend, that concerns me a lot. I was looking at the numbers and I'm saying, my God, that's 1% of the deaths in Santa Clara County are now opioid caused. And a majority of those, from the bar chart that you presented in your presentation, shows the victims to be youth or very young people. And it really pulls at my heartstrings. So I thank you for all that you're doing, the breadth of your approach, your attack, your education, the various different diversities of individuals in our Santa Clara, in our county that you're reaching out to. I appreciate all that you're doing, because if we continue to see percentage increases like we've seen the last couple of years of your data, I'm speechless, because these are our children and it seems so preventable. But then on the other hand, it seems not so preventable if you got crooks bringing in the stuff. And that would be my question through the chair to Myra, to Edward. What is your overall feeling about the county's ability to stop this recent trend?
With respect to my perspective, particularly from a law enforcement side, I think that we can and we should be able to stem the tide, and it's really a matter of focusing resources and the attention to it, and that's for a reason why I bring up the creation of my team, which is ultimately an evolution of what was previously under narcotics unit, and but we're really focusing on the high impact sort of crimes when it comes to particularly narcotics trafficking, and in this instance, fentanyl. So I do think that we do have the wherewithal, and of course with additional resources, that would always be much more beneficial for us ultimately, in order to truly address this issue, particularly as it does affect a very vulnerable population, our children, our youth, our young adults, that, with additional resources, both on addressing the supply side, which law enforcement traditionally does, as well as the demand side, I do think we can make a dent in, at the very least, bringing the number of deaths down, or at least preventing an increase year over year, as we have seen.
Super. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Several questions. First, to Myra, I always appreciate the emphasis on educating and engaging youth. My office supports the county's youth task force, and I would like to encourage you to connect with us to perhaps make a presentation at a future meeting. I'm sure that the students who are civically engaged there might have some additional ideas on building awareness. And if they want to submit recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, I would welcome that.
Thank you. I would love to do that. Just let me know.
Absolutely.
When.
And in the outreach to organizations, if you're interested in further expanding, I would recommend connecting with the new Vietnamese Community Service Center.
Okay.
The VASC, Vietnamese American Community Services in East San Jose, I think is a good touch point as well. Edward, I'm wondering a couple of questions. First, do you have information on the comparison of methamphetamine related deaths to fentanyl related deaths?
I don't have it offhand right now, and if that's a question that you would like answered, I can't provide that at a later time, but I have some sense of it, but I'd rather make sure I have the numbers right. And so
okay. I appreciate that, because we do hear, at least anecdotally, very often about methamphetamine fueled violent behaviors, methamphetamine deaths, and I have never seen this kind of concerted outreach effort and campaign there. And I'll start with waiting for the information about what the comparisons are and what the numbers are, and then we'll have follow-up questions based on that, because the distinction in engagement is really interesting to me. Also curious to know how the prosecutions break down between manufacturers and professional traffickers of fentanyl for distribution compared with street level sellers, particularly kids who may be selling or giving to one another.
Well, I don't have the specific numbers with respect to that. I will say a majority of the cases are going to be probably more street level as opposed to the higher level ones. I think partly that's because it's sort of a pyramid, right? And that when we're talking about the people that we prosecute, generally, we're going to see more of the street level dealers, but that doesn't mean that we don't have the higher level people, the higher level traffickers. And when working with our local law enforcement agencies, with our federal law enforcement partners as well, we have those cases, and we are working on those cases. And obviously there's many pending investigations out there just generally, but I will say that most of them are probably the lower level sort of sales cases where they're selling fentanyl, but we definitely have some of the higher level traffickers, and we really look at that based upon the number of pills that we're seizing.
Yeah, my expectation is that the lower level and street pills are more likely amongst people who have substance use disorders or would benefit perhaps from supportive and restorative treatment, as opposed to the very tough prosecution, and really seeing a focus on keeping them out of our community and taking down the professionals that are making a living selling these drugs. I think would be really a critical focus here. And in line with our outreach education for youth, I would hope that our approach in prosecuting youth is focused much more substantially on rehabilitation, support for substance use disorder, restitution, all of those therapeutic efforts, again, as opposed to locking kids up for something that very likely they don't understand the seriousness of. We're helping with that with the education awareness campaign, but still just thinking about kids and brain development and how we have an opportunity right now to shape a generation of kids who may be in danger of exposure here. So I'm interested in the thoughtfulness that's going along with that, and I'm sure will be taken up in the task force that Supervisor Chavez and District Attorney Rosen are working on. I see Michelle Jordan, the coroner, medical examiner, has her hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hello everyone. Dr. Jordan with the Medical Examiner Coroner's Office. In regards to your question, Supervisor, regarding the number of methamphetamine deaths.
Yes.
I just wanted to remind everyone that our data dashboard, which was presented, I believe 2 months ago, is live. So in regards to the number of drug deaths due to methamphetamine versus fentanyl versus other opioids, that can be readily found if you access that data dashboard either through the open portal, through the county website, or you can actually look at that data through our county website. You can just Google Santa Clara County Medical Examiner Coroner's Office, and it'll take you to the dashboard. The other comment I wanted to make from our viewpoint at the Medical Examiner Coroner's Office is that many of these fentanyl related deaths, we are seeing it combined with a lot of other drugs. The most common being combined methamphetamine and fentanyl. So I just wanted to just give that commentary as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Michelle, both the reminder that we are capable of finding some of this information on our own due to the transparent dashboard. So thank you very much. And interesting as well to hear about the combination of the fentanyl and methamphetamine. Clearly both are important to raise attention and awareness of. So thank you both. Thank you all for the report and the update. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
We currently have 2 public speakers, Madam Chair.
All right, let's do 2 minutes for each speaker, please.
All right, 1 moment, please, while we get the timer up. The next speaker is Irvish. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much to Board of Supervisor, Madam Chair, as well as Vice Chairperson Mike Wasserman. Taking a step towards identifying the needs for the opioid program, it's very essential especially within the County of Santa Clara, as most of the centers within the County of Santa Clara, they do provide the necessary services. However, estimating something about the fentanyl, heroin, and prescription opioid, that's something, having a center like that, it's going to create a modeling study. As well as it is equally important to know that within the United States, the overdoses crisis is driven by the fentanyl, heroin, and prescription opioids. It is also important to make sure about that, what are the methods, that are being prevailing, and, what are the findings, that are around within the age differences, where people are deprived with the overdoses of those fentanyls that is being taken. More importantly, what are the national health issues that is being created by this drug abuse? Also equally important, moreover, the children in the school, nearby school, they are required to be educated with the programs, and as well as to be made sure about that, how the prevention programs can be implemented such that they are not being deprived of such overdoses that is being taken under the situation and the circumstances of emotional and the depressions. Considering the COVID-19 situation, we do see that how things would have changed, and what are the differences that has been made within those situations. In the same way, the helping those children overcoming the situation would be very essential, and having a center within the county of Santa would be even more essential.
Next speaker is Sandra Asher. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for this presentation, and I appreciate the work that the SCOOP project is doing. Addiction is classified in the DSM-5 as a mental illness that lives in the brainstem, the same brainstem that serves a critical role in regulating certain involuntary actions of the body, including heartbeat and breathing. Addicts feel that they need their drug of choice the same way that they feel they need to breathe. In this way, it is directly connected to the mental health crisis that has been declared in our county, and it's not surprising to see the subsequent increase in deaths. The detox process can be violent and result in death if not monitored by medical professionals. So I am appreciative of the medicine-assisted treatment that is being provided, and I think we need more of that approach. Many times an addict is released from jail or program at a time when their serotonin levels are at their lowest, leading to a higher crime rate and a higher chance of relapse. It takes an average of 14 to 16 months of sobriety for an addict's brain to balance serotonin levels to that of a neurotypical brain. The two biggest factors that make an addict are genetic predisposition and childhood trauma. It's not that one hit or that one decision that'll make an addict. You never really know who is or who is not an addict before they even pick it up. It's not moral. It's in your brain and in your genes. Let's take for a moment what if we considered the BRCA gene for breast cancer has a 5 to 10% genetic disposition rate. People every day undergo testing and life-changing surgeries to avoid it, but addiction predisposition is over 50%. Addiction is a disease, much like diabetes. It has to be monitored every day for the rest of your life. And that is hard. It takes support and unrelenting diligence, like cancer, in that it can always reoccur. Thank you.
That concludes our requests to speak.
Thank you so much. We're going to move to our next item. Item 8, we put on consent. So that takes us to item 9, which is to receive a report from the Office of the Sheriff relating to the PERT Psychiatric Emergency Response Team.
Thank you, Supervisor Ellenberg, Supervisor Wasserman. Thank you for allowing us the time to talk about this program. It's something that has been something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and I really appreciate the partnership with the county to be able to provide clinicians. And I'd like to introduce Captain Richie Reyna, who will introduce our presenters today. Captain.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning, Supervisors Ellenberg and Wasserman. Hope you're both doing well. I'm Captain Richie Reyna, currently managing our police services in our West Valley contract cities, in addition to managing the PERT team. I'm honored to be with you this morning to introduce our PERT team members, who will provide you with a brief presentation and then be able to answer questions. As the last time we met, Supervisor Ellenberg has some questions in regards to the 3-tier approach. I'll start out with our clinicians, Mr. Jason Majors and Ms. Kristen Briscoe. Mr. Majors unfortunately had to jump off this meeting a couple of minutes ago as he had a conflict. We have deputies Ken Rebellini and Corey Chow. Deputy Rebellini was unable to join us, and Deputy Chow is the newest member of the team as he started back in December, replacing Deputy Foy, who was promoted and left the team. I'll now turn it over to them for the presentation. I'll start in a second here. Okay.
The same sentiment, thank you. And thank you to all of the staff.
We lost whoever started speaking.
Hi, can you guys hear me? I can't have my video on for some reason.
Got it. Thanks, Kristen.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm not sure if it's working. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and we can see the screen.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I will just go over the slides here. The PERT mission is to provide a collaborative team approach for individuals and families experiencing psychiatric crises. PERT combines mental health services with post-crisis peer support to reduce the need for future encounters with law enforcement. Next slide, please. All right, so I'll pick up where we left back last year in June. So we left off at the last meeting, I believe with myself coming on board as the second PERT clinician. I completed my training in June of 2001. July of 2001, we went fully operational, available 7 days a week. November, one PERT deputy is promoted to sergeant, and PERT remains operational 4 days a week. December, new PERT deputy, Deputy Corey Chow, was interviewed and selected, and training began. And moving forward, now we have returned to full operations 7 days a week. So that's where we're at now. Next slide, please. So the PERT by numbers, part one. So in 2001, PERT accomplished the following: 136 calls for service, numbers of incidents PERT team members responded to in the field, 149 referrals. PERT received numerous referrals from deputies and supervisors, 124 consults. Deputies and supervisors contacted PERT via text, phone, or in person for resource or mental health advice on subjects and clients. 251 resources were provided and directed to subjects, clients, individuals, various types of county resources and support services. Next slide. I'm going to introduce my new deputy partner, Corey Chow, to cover the next few slides. Thank you.
Hi, this is Deputy Chow. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to continue on with this presentation. So we also had 427 follow-ups, which was for our PERT members, where we followed up either in person, phone, email, or text. We had 26 5150 holds. So 26 were applicants for assessment, and the preferred outcome was to direct subjects to alternative resources when possible. We had 0 arrests. We had 0 uses of force, and we had 20 firearms. Several pistols, rifles, shotguns have been voluntarily given to PERT for safekeeping to the sheriff's office. Next slide. And support for PERT. The success PERT has enjoyed so far is thanks to the Behavioral Health Services Department and the Sheriff's Office command staff, who have shown us trust, confidence, and continued encouragement to train, develop, and improve PERT over this past year. We want to specifically thank Division Director Sandra Hernandez, Sergeant Mike Lowe, Lieutenant Neil Valenzuela, Captain Rich Urena, and Sheriff Lori Smith. And the next slide is going to be our PERT contact info. The days, this is how we split up the week. Deputy Rebellini and Jason Majors are going to work Sunday through Wednesday, 1 to 11. And then myself and my clinician partner, Kristen Briscoe, will work Wednesday through Saturday, 1 through 11. That concludes.
Thank you. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much for the report and the data. And I also want to extend appreciation to Sheriff Smith and to our Behavioral Health Department for working so closely on this to make it happen. The initial numbers are really encouraging. Could one of you characterize the difference between what the PERT team and the Mobile Crisis Response Team does? And are there differences in calls that might route one response or another?
Yeah, so I'd like to answer that question.
Go for it.
Yeah, so I think it'd be best answered in the format of kind of what we how we left things back in 2021 in June. So during that meeting, Supervisor Ellenberg, you requested an in-depth conversation on outcomes, how PERT will complement the three-tier structure of behavioral health that is being developed, and an analysis of the remaining service gaps and areas of opportunity. So for number one, regarding outcomes, so Research Development and Associates, RDA, is contracted to evaluate the PERT project. And it is our understanding that they will provide an annual report at the end of the fiscal year with an in-depth outcome data. So that annual report with this information is forthcoming. Number two, how PERT complements the three-tier structure of behavioral health and how we may present quite differently. PERT is dispatched by 911 and clinicians are embedded in patrol. So in this way, PERT provides a true real-time clinician and law enforcement joint response with the ability to provide the fastest response, as there are no delays in response to imminent crisis events. More information related to the development of the three-tier model would be best answered probably by Behavioral Health Administration. And finally, number three, remaining service gaps and areas of opportunity. So PERT units rely on availability of each other's partner to be able to be in service in the field. The Sheriff's Office addressed this gap by identifying a backup deputy for PERT deputies. And so another area, and in addition, another area of opportunity is to coordinate similar training, operations, and collaboration across all PERT teams in the county to ensure consistency in training and to be able to offer mutual assistance amongst PERT units. So I'm not sure if that answers.
It doesn't. It's super interesting information though. But yeah, let me make sure I'm clear. If somebody calls 911,
yes,
and there is a mental health crisis that is being reported, it will only alert PERT teams. Mobile Crisis Response Team would not be called in this kind of situation. How? I'm still not clear on.
Right.
I understand that mobile crisis does not include law enforcement and PERT does.
Right.
So, but what I'm trying to understand is what kind of circumstances would prioritize or warrant the PERT team as opposed to the mobile crisis response team? Is it based on time of day? Is it based on the specific allegation in the call? Is it based on where the outreach is done?
Right.
911 only sends PERT. That's what I'm looking to understand.
No, and this is a very common question, and I appreciate it. So it's pretty clear. So if PERT deputies are in operation and we are on the clock, and a 911 call comes in that has a mental health component, there are a couple different ways that PERT can be dispatched. They can be dispatched through county comm. They can be dispatched by supervisors. We can self-dispatch if we're listening to the radio and we discern, the deputy and the clinician discern that that's something that we should self-dispatch to. We also dispatch that way. So we're always listening to the radio. In contrast, mobile crisis can be called in a different way through county referral. So they don't answer from 911 dispatch.
Okay.
So in the future, I do believe that there's going to be additional ways of doing that as far as the 988 number. So that's a whole other thing that's evolving.
Thank you so much. That's actually very helpful. Yeah. Let me see. I know I had a couple of other questions. Is there information available or is a dashboard perhaps forthcoming that provides any kind of further breakdown or categorization of the types of calls that we're getting, what the follow-up services look like, and kind of how are we tracking whether loops are closed. If we connect somebody with services, do we know that those services have actually been accessed?
Yeah, so back to the best way is that we, collect our data continuously, and then we submit that to RDA. And at the end of the fiscal year, that will be basically available.
Okay, got that. So not in real time, but in the annual report.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to give a concise answer about that.
Okay, and that can help us determine where we may need to shift or add or remove resources. Thanks so much, Kristen.
You're
Are
welcome.
there questions or comments from any other committee members? Sylvia.
Yes, I just wanted to express my gratitude for the existence of something so wonderful. Years ago, we heard from our community about the, significant necessity that existed out in the community to really appropriately manage crisis calls involving the mentally ill. And it was really gratifying to read this report and to know that something is in place and that we have really highly qualified, competent professionals out there identifying these important issues. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you very much for all that you do.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Let's go to public comment. Dave, do we have any speakers?
We have one speaker, Madam Chair.
All right, let's do 2 minutes, please.
Next speaker is Irvish. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much to Madam Chair, as well as the Vice Chairperson. I wanted to emphasize on the importance of a port and as well as the mobile emergency response team. Both operates in different circumstances, and equally, the emergency response team is required when a law enforcement receives a phone calls through the in-field law enforcement request for the emergency services, whereas the psychiatric mobile response team provides evaluation of suspects who appear to be in some form of mental crisis. Now, it is equally important to note here that how consider there is a total number of people risk at population, and then there is a requirement to witness the situation. At that particular point of time, you require the mobile response team and as well as support response team both. Now, depends on that whether the medical emergency service is called or not, and whether that is something fatal or not. Based upon that, it aligns into two different pathways. At that particular point of time, the respective team responds. Now, it is equally important that what is being reported and what is being reported to use at the point of a survival, that becomes equally important, as both the team, especially the mobile response team, they have more tracking of records rather than the port team, as they are actually working within the situation. What becomes even important within the more of a data that, under what circumstances, what individuals are going through the situation, that is equally important, because the psychiatric analysis also require the behavioral analysis and as well as the person, who has undergone that situation as well. So tracking of that data and tracking of those individuals will also be equally important. That data is required to be protected as well. Thank you very much for consideration.
That concludes our request to speak.
Thank you very much. Do we have any announcements from any committee members or department heads? Not seeing any hands, in which case I'm happy to adjourn this meeting to April 14th, 2022 at 10 a.m. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Dave, for the support today.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.